Everyone understands the need to innovate. Those large financial institutions and governments, we do understand the need to innovate, but the way forward is a struggle. And partly that's because of the mindset and choices and the fact that most financial institutions, it's all employees. Whereas on the fintech side, they're very small teams. Everyone has skin in the game. They can make decisions very quickly. They want to move quickly, but they don't have that many resources. Their resources are very limited. And so often one of the big frustrations we find is, first of all, the fintechs don't know who to contact at the bank. So I can see, first of all, you're solving for that problem, which is wonderful. The other thing is, what the fintechs don't know is, what are your pain points, big bank? What are your pain points? What are your gain points? Because when you keep everything internal and you think you can solve all your own problems and you don't share because you think there's some shame or embarrassment in sharing, we're just left guessing. We're left guessing and we're struggling and we're scrambling to get validation that what we think are your pain points and gain points absolutely are. So problem statements are wonderful. Okay, problem statements really, really help everyone to collaborate and move forward. You've solved for the point of contact. You've solved for the sharing of the problem statement. Everything comes down to APIs. The first thing the developers want to know is, where's the APIs? And then, because they need to get a handle on how complex, how simple, how restful, how elegant your APIs are. And they also want to know what support is available for them. So if you have something like a software development kit, if you have support available, that helps us move forward. That helps us get our software developers comfortable. And finally, the demonstration we just saw there, I think increasingly our lives are not just digital, our lives are mobile. Okay, we want to leave the house with our mobile phone. We don't want to carry keys. We don't want to carry cash. We don't want to carry our physical identity documentation. We just want to leave. We don't want to carry a credit card. And increasingly, you can see this is where the world is going. Everything is becoming not just digital, but mobile. For example, verify people's identity. If I'm out and I have myself, I've got my body, and I've got my phone, and I've got my knowledge, we need to start working with different ways to identify people. So part of how big banks can get comfortable that things work at scale is give it a go. Go into a test environment and try to break it. In fact, that's often a term that's used, like, we'll put what we've built out there, try to break it, but like try to break it in the spirit of collaboration. Please give us your feedback. That is really important for financial inclusion. It's really important for helping people in a crisis. So in Australia, you might remember, just over a year ago, we had horrible bushfires. People's houses burnt down, their birth certificates burnt down, their debit cards melted. They had no way of proving who they were, other than potentially taking a photo or going to a Red Cross or Salvation Army or a government help place and having someone take their photo and comparing it against a database. And we've also seen with COVID the need to get help to people quickly. I think a lot of startups are very reluctant actually to participate in RFP processes because they're usually quite lengthy submissions that have to be made, and that takes them a lot of time. So often what I find is RFP is not a very efficient way to source innovation, because the people who have the time and the resources to respond to your RFP are actually the larger IT companies out there, not the smaller ones. So there is a bit of bias that results there, and that the big banks are not necessarily scoping out and understanding who is out there that could be an option. And simply putting an RFP out there is not going to actually bring forward everyone who could be an option, because a lot of them just simply do not have that time and resource to devote to answering your RFP. I think prototypes are very powerful because seeing is believing.
Absolutely.
And part of the problem with regulations is, I think sometimes it's not the regulators, it's the compliance teams inside the banks, because often they're brought in to give their opinion. Would we be compliant if we did this? But this isn't something they can see. And so they're being asked to be innovative and imagine something that hasn't yet been built. And that's actually not typically a skill you find inside compliance teams. I hope I'm not causing offense. But for most people, imagination and creativity is not what they employ. It's not one of their strengths. So if you can show it for them, if you can actually show them the prototype, which means that rapid prototyping is what's really important.